Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be working with multiplying mixed numbers. Our objective is for all students to be able to multiply mixed numbers to find the area of a rectangle. This will involve multiplying fractions, also um, applying measurement skills to find proper length and area, among some other standards. Let's take a look at our first problem. Go ahead and start by trying to solve this problem. Now, if you have already solved this problem, you will know that this problem, we need to multiply 11 times 7, the numerators, to get 77, and then multiply the denominators. 5 times 2 equals 10. Since this is a larger number in the numerator than the denominator, we have an improper fraction. So we're going to have to simplify by dividing the numerator divided by the denominator. 10 goes into 7 0 times. 10 goes into 77 7 times, which is 70. Subtract, and I have 7 remaining. Now, 7 remaining out of 10 parts. So that would be 7 out of 10, or 7/10. Our answer would be 7 and 7/10. Go ahead and check your work. Now, let's look at another problem. This problem involves finding the area of a rectangle. You can see the rectangle in blue. And the measurements are 3 1/2 inches times 2 1/5 inches. If we plug it into the formula, area equals length times width, the length we have at 3 1/2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that amount into my length. Moving that 3 1/2 down here. And I'm going to plug 2 1/5 in for my width of the rectangle. Now we'll move this over here. Now see if you can multiply to solve for the area of a rectangle. If you're having difficulty, maybe you need to follow these steps. Go ahead and take out a paper and pencil and write down the following steps to solving a problem involving the multiplication of mixed numbers. The first thing you should always do is to estimate to see if your answer is at least reasonable. Right? The second step is to write the mixed numbers as improper fractions. And now, for those of you that were stuck on the last problem, we can see the first thing we really need to do here is to write these mixed numbers as improper fractions. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to write 3 1/2 by multiplying 3 times 2 equals 6 plus 1 equals 7/2. And when I change 2 1/5, I'm going to take 2 times 5 equals 10 plus 1 equals 11/5. And now I can check for my next step. Step number 3 says to simplify using cross-canceling if possible. So go back and see if you can simplify. When we look at our problem again, it doesn't appear that we can simplify anything by finding a common factor in our numerators or our denominators. So we will move to step 4, which says to multiply the numerators and denominators. 7 times 11 is 77. 2 times 5 is 10. And what do you know? We've got the same improper fraction that we had on our last multiplication problem. We know that 77 divided by 10 is equal to 7 and 7/10. And this would be inches squared for this area problem. So the only difference between multiplying two improper fractions and multiplying mixed numbers is step number 2. When we're solving this the first thing you should do is write your mixed numbers as improper fractions. Then follow the rest of the steps just like you were multiplying fractions. Let's go take a look at another problem for practice. Our next problem, we have here another area model, 2 1/2 times 4 3/4. Go ahead and try to solve this problem. Look back at your steps if you need some extra help. If you solved this problem correctly, the first step would have been to take the length times the width and write it horizontally. Next, we will convert both into mixed numbers. Convert both mixed numbers into improper fractions. 19/4 inches and 5/2 inches. Then you will multiply the numerators and the denominators, and we get 95/8 and inches that we have up here times inches would be just like if you had 7 times 7. You would write it as 7 squared. So we have inches times inches, so we want to write inches squared for area. And when we convert our improper fraction of 95/8 into a mixed number, we get the answer of 11 7/8 inches squared. Final problem, I want to challenge you a little bit to see if you can solve the area of this rectangle using these measurements. If we look closely at this measurement, I drew a rectangle from inch 2 to inch 3. Now what I'm going to do is divide that rectangle into equal parts to find out what the measurement actually is. Right here I'm going to divide it in half first. Right at the big mark on the ruler, that's the halfway. I divide it into 2 equal pieces. Next I'm going to look, and I notice that my measurement is right at the halfway mark, which is actually 8/16. So my total measurement is 2 8/16 for my width. This amount right here, 2 8/16 inches. If you already said 8/16 is equal to a half, then you are correct. This is actually 2 1/2 inches. Now we're going to take a closer look at the other side. Here, if I look at my little box, and I'm going to have to divide it to find out the exact measurements of this length. It is 5, and when I make my division marks on the box, I have a halfway right here, and then if I actually divide it into 4 equal parts, you could see 4 equal parts right there. Using the red marker, I will mark each of those to divide it into 4 equal parts. Now we can zoom back in and have a look at this measurement. We can see that it goes right to the 1, 2, 3, 4th mark out of 16. So that would be 4/16. 5 4/16 inches. Which is actually the same as 5 1/4 inches. Now, see if you can solve that problem with the length of 5 1/4 inches and the width of 2 1/2 inches. All right, have a good one.